Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked up this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a London pen company. This is a Christopher 15 in primary manipulation 1. We have another London pen company, Christopher 15, and this is in the Ghost Koi. We have a London pen company, Christopher 14, and this is in the Cherry Blossom. We have a London pen company, and this is another Christopher 14, and this is in the Conway Stewart Honey Noir. We have an Esterbrook Estie Oversize, and this is the Gold Rush Prospector. We have an Esterbrook Estie Oversize, and this is in the Rocky Top. We have an Onoto, and this is the Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Jade. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930, and this is in the Striped Zebra. And we have a Montegrappa Extra 1930, and this is in the Dove of Peace. And then we have a Dens Pens Fafnir. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is a London Pen Company pen. This is a pen made by Sean at the London Pen Company in Ontario, Canada. And this is a really, really lovely sized pen. I do like the length of this, and I do like the girth of it. It is made by Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation, and this is a Primary Manipulation 1. I have to say that I do like that material a lot. It is a little bit chalky, so you will see that although this pen is actually polished quite highly, it still has this chalky resonance in the material underneath the surface. So it won't always shine. On some pens it will shine more than others. I do like this a lot though. This is a really well sized pen for me. Very chunky pen with a 15mm thread here. The section is quite nice as well, with a slight concave look there. This has a steel Bock nib there, and this is a broad nib. So I do like writing with broad nibs quite a lot. So I have that one inked up this week. I've not had it inked up for a little while now. The next one here is another pen from Sean at the London Pen Company, and this is again a Christopher 15, and this is in the Ghost Koi. And I really wanted a purplish pen so I could put a lovely, maybe sheeny purplish ink in here, and I have actually done that. It really is a beautiful pen. I do like the remnants of the white and the purple. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen there. And again, this is a 15mm diameter thread here. Again, a slight concave section. Just makes it easier for your fingers to rest into the center and not go below the base of the section. Again, it has another steel Bock nib. This is another broad nib as well. Can you post the caps on Sean's pens? Yeah, you can, and they do post quite deeply as well. So I do like that, although typically I am not a pen poster. But you'll see here that I have already now just got some ink from within the cap there on the back of the pen. So if you are a poster of caps, then you do have to be a little bit careful on that. I'm just going to wipe that off there, and there you go, back to how it was. But you do have to be just a little bit careful when you are posting your caps, because you are essentially going to get ink like that on the back of your pens. So you do have to be just a little bit careful. The next pen here, inked up this week, is again, it's another London Pen Company pen from Sean. This is the a BBC material. So this is the Twisted Cherry Blossom. And I have to say, I am actually, again, a fan of the white and the pink in there, the cherry sort of like colouring. I do like that a lot. So this is a 14 model. So whereas these two were 15s, this is a 14. So the 15 or 14 denotes really the width of the threads. Again, you have a little bit more of a concave section on this one, which to be honest, I actually like a little bit more. I am a fan of concave sections. Again, it has another Bock steel nib. Now this one is a double broad, so this is quite broad. But I do like this a lot. Now, all of Sean's pens are cartridge converter pens, so it's nice and easy to clean them out when you need to. And the next pen here, I nearly picked up the same pen again. This pen is a Sean pen, a London pen company pen, and this is a Christopher. Again, it's a 14, but this one has a faceted cap, so the body is cylindrical. But you'll see there, as I rotate the pen, you'll see there that it does have facets on that cap. Really, really nice. It stops the pen from rolling around the desk. I am a fan of this a lot. Now, Sean's done something a little bit different here. He doesn't have the concave section, but he does have a flare out towards the end of the nib, or the end of the section, I should say. Now, this does come with a black nib, so it's a ruthenium coated nib. These are all having ABS plastic feeds. These are all cartridge converters. Can I post a cap? Yeah, I can still post a cap. Even though it's a faceted cap, it does post nicely and securely. So this is in the honey noir material from Conway Stewart, and I have to say this material really does polish up to a beautiful polish, a beautiful shine. So I am really liking that pen, and I have that one inked up with me this week as well. Now, a couple of pens that I have had inked up previously, and it may have been for a couple of weeks. I've been writing with these a little bit more now. This is the Esterbrook Estie Oversize, and this one is an older model. This is the Gold Rush, and it's a Prospector. Now, I say older model. This was the first, I believe, where Esterbrook made a pen out of the Mackenzie Penworks diamond cast material. The diamond cast has real diamond dust impregnated into that resin. So you'll see there that it does sparkle, and that is real diamond dust. So this really is a beautiful pen, and I have to say I am in awe of this. Now, it is an old model. I did manage to pick this up. There are a few still available on eBay. There was a UK seller. Hamilton Pens had one. I managed to pick this one up on eBay. I got it a little bit cheaper than I could have probably got it from Hamilton Pens. Again, really, really nice pen, and I have to say I really do like it. So this does have a fine nib. I don't normally do many fine nibs, but I didn't have the choice of nibs, but I can always swap it out with a medium or a broad nib if I so choose. The next pen here, again, is another Esterbrook Estie Oversize. Now, this is the Rocky Top. Again, a Mackenzie Penworks diamond cast material. And you can see there all of that glitter in there, or diamond dust. Shouldn't say glitter. It is diamond dust. And it really is a stunning pen. And I am in awe with diamond cast material. My first diamond cast material was from Erica Atelier Lusso, and that was a really, really nice pen. I still have it, and since then, since Esterbrook started using some diamond cast material, I have actually used or bought some of those pens. Now, this one, I didn't actually show this pen here as well, so I'll show you here. Both have fine nibs. Well, actually, sorry, this has a fine nib. This has a broad nib, but you'll see there it does have that metal thread, and it does have a clutch mechanism. So what you have to do is you have to push in and twist, and eventually it will engage and then lock up, and you can screw the cap onto the pen. But if you just screw and screw without pushing in, it's not going to do anything. And you can see that it's got a bit of bounce. So I'm pushing it in and it pushes out. Push in, pushes out. So it is an interesting mechanism. I do like it. It actually helps reduce the drying out of a nib. So that does actually come in quite handy. Some pen manufacturers use inner cap seals, and the section will butt up against that to try and seal off the nib. That's essentially what this does, but it has got that clutch mechanism to give a little bit of a better seal. So it's something that Esterbrook do. I think some pilot pens do it. Certainly Sailor do it as well. It's nothing new, but it's a nice touch, and I do like that. The next pen I have inked up is this beautiful Onoto, and it's a Magna Classic. Now, this was advertised as the Chased Jade. I have actually seen it more recently just as the Chased Green. And honestly, I think it is a green. It's not a jade colour. The chased or chasing is this pattern here, which is then filled in with silver. And you can see that there, or silver paint, I suspect. You can see that there. It really does look beautiful. It's a green pearl, I think is what the terminology I saw on the Enoto website. Now, you do have the Onoto logo there. If you don't know, let me try and get that into focus a little bit better. The outer ring is the first O of Onoto. Then you have the N and O, and then the other O is separated by a T, so it's Onoto. And it's a really, really nice pen. I managed to pick this up secondhand. Now, if you've watched the review of this or watched previous Currently Inks, it's got a number 7 size 18 karat gold nib on it. It's a cartridge converter. The nib did come, unfortunately, ground as a crisp medium metallic. I do not like crisp metallics, so I stubbed the nib and rounded the edges off so that it didn't cut into the paper if I rotate the nib. And it is actually quite nice now. I really do like this nib. So I actually got it for a good price as well. I probably could still replace the nib if I wanted to, but at the moment I don't feel the need to actually replace the nib. So I will probably just leave it as is. The next pen here is the Montegrappa, and this is the Extra 1930, and this is the Vertical Zebra. And you'll see that the Montegrappa logo there, 1912, is the age of when the company was created. You'll see silver hallmarks there as well with this Greek keyband, and then it says Montegrappa. But this is a celluloid pen, and it really is quite beautiful. Yeah, it's got quite a bit of a chatoyance there, brightness on those vertical stripes. Now, if I unscrew the cap, you'll see a silver section there, which will tarnish over time, but you can polish that up. It is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, though, so you will see that there. If I do that, you'll see that it really does take your fingerprints and the grease and the oil off your fingers. It has a number 8 size Montegrappa nib with an ebonite feeder there, and this is quite a nice size pen. I can post the cap, but it posts onto the back of the piston knob, so you've got to be careful when you remove the cap because you might start twisting that piston knob. But for me, this is a really nice pen. I picked it up new old stock, and I am really loving it. Typically, I do like Visconti nibs. I find they have a nice bounce to them. Montegrappa, not so much. There is a slightest of bounce, but not as much as most Visconti nibs. But they typically do feel a little bit more harder, as in a nail, but not quite as much as many steel nibs. The next pen I have inked up is, again, another Montegrappa Extra 1930. You'll see that there. You've got the cap finial there, 1912. And you'll see Montegrappa there with the Greek keyband. And then you'll see the silver hallmarks as well. This is, again, another celluloid pen. This one is a little bit different. This is a Dove of Peace. It's a Korean exclusive that I managed to pick up. And you'll see there, it's got a dove there on the nib. It's actually a number 6 size nib, not a number 8 size nib. And I can show you the difference. A number 6 size nib is actually oversized anyway. But the number 8 size nib, you'll see there, slight difference. Certainly the width of the nib, which is at the base of the nib, is where you measure the size. So a number 6 is 6mm in diameter, and a number 8 is 8mm in diameter. But you'll see there that the number 8 nib is recessed quite deeply into the pen, so the length of the nib is almost identical, but it's just more the width of the nib. So I typically, all of my Viscontis are number 6 size nibs. Most of my nibs in my collection are number 6. I do have number 8 size nibs as well. I do typically like the number 8 size nibs. So this one does have a number 6 size nib. It does have also the celluloid section on it. And it's not a piston filler. It's actually a cartridge converter pen. So if I unscrew the body there, you've got a Montegrappa cartridge converter. So this one is a little bit more lighter than the other Extra 1930. Can I post the cap? Yes, I can. Because it's not a piston filling pen, it will not twist the knob there, because this does not twist. So from that perspective, I do like that. So you could actually post that cap without worrying. But it does have this beautiful black and white effect going on there. Really, really beautiful. A little bit similar to the vertical zebra, but also quite different in many ways as well. Now the last pen here is a pen from Den at Den's Custom Pens in the UK. So this is, he's aptly named it Fafnir. Now Fafnir is I think it's the Nordic god, and Fafnir is basically the dwarf god. So this is a pocket pen, and he designed this to be eyedroppered. I have actually since put a Kaweco squeeze converter in here. So if I unscrew the body here, you won't fit a normal converter, but you can fit a squeeze converter. So it is pretty short, but it will actually at least hold ink. Now that pen is pretty short on its own. The idea is that you screw the cap into the back of the pen, and I've done a review of this already, but then the pen becomes a lot longer, and I really like it. Now it does have an ebonite section on here. Den can actually make resin sections as well. To be honest, I don't mind the ebonite section. I find ebonite is actually nice to the touch. It's like a smooth softness. It doesn't feel... Ebonite is hard rubber, vulcanized rubber. But it doesn't feel like rubber, and it doesn't smell like rubber once it's been turned. It does have a number 5 size nib, and this is a Bock nib. And I believe I went for a medium nib on this one. So this is an interesting pen. I did eyedropper it to start with, but I have since converted it to a cartridge converter. So that's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is a London pen company, and this is a Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1. So I think let's go and do an ink swatch here. Now, you'll see that this is quite a wet writing nib, and I do like how this writes. I have always put a green ink in here. I do like it. It's got a lot of green in the pen. I could put orange, red, pink. I could put virtually any colour in this pen. But this is the London Pen Company, and it's the Christopher 15. And it's in Primary Manipulation 1 that I'm going to abbreviate. It's a broad, and it's a steel nib. But that is a really, really nice writing pen. Now, the ink in here is Diamine Meadow, which is a really nice green ink. And I have to say, I'm constantly, when I want a lighter green ink, I'm constantly jumping between Diamine Meadow and Diamine Apple Glory. Both of them are very good inks from Diamine. I would say Diamine Apple Glory is a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. The next pen inked up this week is, again, another London pen company, Christopher 15, and this is in the Ghost Koi. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this has a sheening ink, so it's a very thick viscousy ink. So it does hard start a lot, and I see that with a lot of viscousy thick inks, and you'll see this, that it's going to start sheening a gold colour, even though it's a purple ink. So this is the London, you can see that there. I'm going to actually just prime this a little bit because I have left this drying, and it's going to just be a little bit hard startish. So this is the London, there you go, pen company, and it's the Christopher 15, and it's in the Ghost Koi. You can see there that this is a very, very thick ink. So this is a broad, and it is a steel nib. I probably should have primed this up, but I wanted to try and show off some of this awesome sheen on this ink. So the ink in here is diamine, and it's Purple Rain, which is a German exclusive diamine ink. So if you really want that ink, you're going to have to buy it from a German retailer, but it's a beautiful ink if you like sheening inks. The next pen is again another London pen company. This is a Christopher 14. So let's do an ink swatch on this one. Now this is a much broader nib, and you can see there it's just a wet writing nib. And I think that this ink goes and matches the pen quite nicely. So this is a London pen company, and it's a Christopher 14, and it's in the Twisted Cherry Blossom. I'm just going to put Cherry Blossom, otherwise I'm going to run out of space. And it is a double broad steel nib. So these nibs from the Sean at London Pen Company is using. He used to use Yovo. He's since switched to Bock. I do actually find that these Bock nibs are actually quite nice. Now the ink in here are. I'm just going to have a look at my notes here because this is Diamine Amaranth, which is a really nice pink ink. The next pen here is another London pen company, Christopher 14, and this is in a faceted Conway Stewart Honey Noir. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is quite a nice colour. It's a brown, but it's not a brown that I would associate as a brown necessarily. So this is a London pen company, Christopher 14, and this is in a faceted, and it's the Conway Stewart, and I'm going to put in here Honey Noir. It's a broad, and it's a steel Bock nib. Now the ink in here is Diamine Terracotta, and that's why I said it's not really what I would associate as a brown. Terracotta is more of a reddish brown. Terracotta is what you see on a lot of houses in terms of roofing tiles. So it is a brown, but it's more of a lighter reddish orangey brown perhaps. The next pen is an Esterbrook Estie Oversize, and this is the Gold Rush Prospector. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a much finer nib, but I am equally liking it. But it doesn't put down as much ink as I'm used to on maybe a broad or a very wet fire hose medium nib. So this is the Esterbrook, Estie, and it is the Oversize, but it's the Gold Rush Prospector. And it is a fine, and it is a steel, it's a Yovo nib. And the ink in here is KWZ, and it's old gold, which is a lovely KWZ coloured ink. I have one of the original bottles, which doesn't smell really that of vanilla, but smells a little bit more of pencil sharpenings. So like the wood and the lead when you sharpen a pencil. KWZ have since switched the antifungal property or ingredient a number of years ago, so now their inks smell more vanilla. The next pen inked up this week is again another Esterbrook Estie Oversize, and this is the Rocky Top. So we'll do another ink swatch here. Now this is a broad nib, and I have to say I really like this ink in here, how it writes. So this is an Esterbrook, and it's Estie. It is an Oversize again, but this is called the Rocky Top Limited Edition. It's a broad, and it's a steel Yovo nib. And the ink in here is KWZ, and it's Nuki Brown, which is a, if I can spell correctly as I talk, it is a UK pen show exclusive. It was for the Newcastle Pen Show, hence the name Nuki Brown. Nuki Brown is a ale drink, a beer. It's an ale, alcoholic drink. And it's short for Newcastle, Nuki. So Newcastle Brown Ale or Nuki Brown Ale. So the next pen here is an Onoto Magna Classic, and this is in the chased jade or green. And we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a very wet writing nib. I do like the Onoto nibs. So this is an Onoto Magna Classic in the chased jade, or I think it's called pearl green or pearly green. It is a medium nib. It was a crisp metallic, which I ground. I reshaped into a stub, so I rounded it off so it didn't dig into the page when I rotated my nib a bit. And it is an 18 cat gold nib as well. The ink in here is diamine, and it is Apple Glory. And that is, you'll see there a slight difference between those two inks, Diamine Meadow and Diamine Apple Glory. The next pen is a Montegrappa Extra 1930, and this is the Vertical Zebra Celluloid. So we'll do another ink swatch here, and these do have a little bit of a bounce to the nibs. They're not as stiff as a steel nib, but they're also not as flexy as maybe some of my Visconti nibs. So this is the Montegrappa Extra 1930, and it's the Vertical Zebra. And it is a medium, and it is an 18 cat gold nib from Montegrappa. And the ink in here is Ackerman. It's Dutch Masters, and it's Binnenhof Blues, which is a very nice blue coloured ink with maybe a hint of lavender or violet or maybe a little bit of a purple. It's getting on towards a blurple. I'd say it's probably not quite there though. The next pen is again another Montegrappa Extra 1930, but this is the Dove of Peace. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is definitely, this is a number 6 size nib. I find that it's a medium nib, but it writes more like a fine nib. And it is quite dry as well, so I probably will floss the tines on this. So this is a Montegrappa Extra 1930, and it is the Dove of Peace. And it is a medium. It is an 18 karat gold nib. It's a number 6, not a number 8 size nib. And then the ink in here is Ackerman, and it's Dutch Masters, and it is Steenrode van Vermeer. But that is quite a nice sort of, almost I'd say a reddish brown ink. It is really more of maybe a rusty colour ink, I would say. That's probably the best way of detailing it. Now, if it's in a very wet nib, it will actually be more of a darker red, I will normally find. Now, the last pen here is a Den's custom pen, and this is the Fafnir. So, I have now since put a cartridge converter in here. Now, I am still using a light coloured ink. It's a yellowy coloured ink, more of an apricot-y colour, I would say. But it's not apricot, and I'll tell you that in a minute what it is. So this is the Den's custom pens, and it's the Fafnir. Now this does have I think it is a medium nib on here, and it is it's a number 5 size nib. It's a Bock nib. Now this ink, when it dries, does dry a darker colour. Now I did say it's like an apricot colour, but it's not apricot. The reason why is this is Lamy Mango, which I believe was an ink that came out this year. It's a lovely apricot-y or mango-y coloured ink, and I have to say that I do like that colour a lot. I think it actually works better in a broader or maybe a double broad nib, or a nib that's a fire hose nib, but it's still a nice colour. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a London Pen Company Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1 in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. We have a London Pen Company Christopher 15 in the Ghost Koi in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Purple Rain. Now this has got a sheen factor there. So if you can see that there, this has quite a lot of gold sheen. Now this is Oxford Optic paper. If you likewise used Tremaway River, you're going to see a lot of sheen as well. The next pen here inked up is a London Pen Company Christopher 14 in the Twisted Cherry Blossom, and this is a double broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Amaranth. We have a London Pen Company Christopher 14 in the Conway Stewart Honey Noir in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Terracotta. We have an Esterbrook Estie Gold Rush Prospector in a fine steel nib inked up with KWZ Old Gold. We have an Esterbrook Estie Rocky Top in a broad steel nib inked up with KWZ Nuki Brown. We have an Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Jade or Chased Pearl Green in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Apple Glory. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 in the Vertical Zebra celluloid in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Ackerman Dutch Masters Binnenhof Blues. we have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Dove of Peace in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Ackerman Dutch Masters Steenwood van Vermeer. And then we have a Dens Custom Pens Fafnir in a medium steel nib inked up with Lamy Mango. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.